The night she said those words wasn't loud or dramatic, but it felt like the world paused on a thin edge of silence, the kind of silence that presses against your chest and makes breathing feel optional. Because loneliness doesn't always scream, sometimes it just sits beside you like a shadow that refuses to leave, and that was the night Ethan Carter realized how heavy his own shadow had become after years of carrying grief he never named, nights he survived instead of lived, mornings he woke up already tired, pretending strength was the same thing as healing. Before the story unfolds any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and quiet moments that change lives forever, take a second to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from, because stories like this connect hearts across places we may never see but deeply feel. Ethan had spent years convincing himself that being alone was safer, that if no one stood close, no one could leave again the way his wife had left this world too early, the way friends slowly drifted when grief became uncomfortable, the way nights grew longer as his apartment filled with unfinished mugs of cold coffee and the hum of a television he never really watched, and even though he functioned, worked, smiled when required, there was a quiet collapse happening inside him that no one noticed, not even himself, until that evening at the community shelter where he volunteered simply to pass time and avoid going home. That was where he met Clara Hayes, a woman whose eyes carried storms but whose presence felt steady, someone who understood pain without asking for explanations, someone who noticed the way Ethan lingered after everyone left, folding chairs twice, sweeping floors that were already clean, delaying the moment he would have to face another empty night. Clara didn't rescue him, didn't fix him, didn't turn his world around in some dramatic gesture, but she offered something rarer, a moment of human recognition that cut through years of isolation like light through fog, reminding him that being seen was not the same as being judged. The challenge Ethan faced wasn't a single problem that could be solved, it was the slow erosion of hope, the belief that connection was temporary and loss was permanent, and as days passed, he found himself wrestling with fear every time Clara's kindness softened his defenses, because letting someone close meant risking the quiet balance he had built around his pain. And yet something inside him began to shift as shared routines turned into shared understanding, as silence became comfortable instead of heavy, as he learned that companionship didn't always demand words. The story moved forward in small, cinematic moments, rain against windows, late-night streetlights reflecting on wet pavement, two lives running parallel long before they intersected, and Ethan's struggle reached its peak on a night when the weight of memory pressed harder than usual, when loneliness felt louder than the city itself, and the idea of facing it alone seemed unbearable, not because he was weak, but because he was finally honest about his own limits. That night became a turning point, not because everything magically improved, but because Ethan allowed himself to accept presence instead of isolation, to understand that healing wasn't about replacing what was lost, but about allowing something new to exist beside the old pain without guilt. Clara had her own wounds, her own past filled with moments where she had been the one left behind, and together they didn't erase each other's scars, they acknowledged them, learning that strength sometimes looks like staying, sometimes looks like listening, and sometimes looks like choosing not to be alone even when solitude feels familiar. As time passed, Ethan noticed subtle changes. The apartment felt less empty, mornings didn't feel as heavy, grief still visited but no longer stayed the night, and the biggest challenge transformed into a quiet victory, the courage to believe that life could still offer warmth after loss, that companionship didn't betray the past but honored survival. If this story is touching your heart even a little, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who might be walking through lonely nights, and subscribe to the channel, because your support helps these stories reach people who need them more than they realize. Just before the ending, we ask you from the heart to leave a comment telling us what this story made you feel, because your words matter and someone reading them might find comfort there. In the end, Ethan didn't find happiness in a dramatic confession or a perfect future, he found it in presence, in shared silence, in the understanding that being alone isn't always about the absence of people, but the absence of connection, and that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let someone stay, not forever, not with promises, but for one night, one moment, one breath at a time, until the darkness feels a little less endless and the world feels possible again.